information that I'd like to cover this evening. I won't get through all of my slides, but at 7:10, I'm going to stop. Then I'm allowed 10 minutes for questions. I want top evaluation, so if I don't cover something that you want to know, it's your responsibility to ask me the question. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, good. Here we go. This first video clip, I think is really important to frame this conversation.
College graduates are drowning in debt. In fact, in the past 20 years, the average student debt has more than tripled and now tops $30,000. Joe Schlesinger has tonight's Eye on Money.
Living with his parents in Verona, New Jersey is not what 23-year-old Anthony DeCandia envisioned after graduating from college last year. But then again, he didn't envision being $80,000 in student debt either.
Obviously, I love my family, I love the free food, and I love my dog. But I'm just ready to move on and live on my own. And it's just tough because with these loans and all these debts that us millennials have, we can't.
DeCandia's story is one of more than 75 million other millennials juggling debt and economic uncertainty. Anna Maria Lusardi is a professor of economics at the George Washington University School of Business.
Millennials are disproportionately more likely to start their economic life in debt and also carry higher amount of debt than previous generation.
Consider this. For the first time, more millennials are living with parents than with spouses or partners. And since the recession, young adults have been slower to buy homes. 27-year-old Crystal White just got engaged. She and her fiancé rent a small apartment in LA. Plans for a wedding and buying a house are on hiatus as they chip away at their combined student loans that top $100,000.
Things have at least been delayed by 2 to 3 years from where we want them to be.
White, a graphic designer, has been meeting her student loan obligations and paying off credit cards each month.
I think it's just really important to no longer view millennials as just whining kids. We're adults, we're professionals, and we're working really hard to get where our parents were and to do better than our parents. Because that's supposed to be the dream, right?
So, Jill, if people like Crystal White are living paycheck to paycheck, hoping the car doesn't break down, how can they save?
You know, it's amazing. She is setting aside 2% of her income to go into retirement, and I think that's what you have to do. Pick some small amount, get into the habit of saving, and as your budget allows, you increase it slowly, but you've got to start somewhere.
So the question is, why are so many young people so deeply in debt for student loans? I'm glad you asked that question, because Sallie Mae, the second largest loan provider in the country, they have published a report for the past 10 years, how America pays for college. What happens, what they cover in the report, is that 9 out of 10 families know their children are going to college and preschool, but only 4 out of 10 families plan on how college is going to get paid for. We've had this question raised at the previous 2 sessions. Mr. Wynn, how do I get my son or my daughter to come to the sessions? Because they're not vested. What they want to suggest, go to college. Getting it paid for is an afterthought. Well, what happens when it's an afterthought? When they enroll, the college says, sign right here for a promissory note. It's painless. Don't worry about it. And then that debt begins to add up and add up and add up. So that's why tonight we want to look at the types of things that are important. This video on the FAFSA, I won't play all of it, but I want you all to understand how the process began.
So, you filled out the FAFSA. Now what? The information you submitted will be processed by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid, and the colleges or career schools you listed will be notified so they can begin their process of awarding aid. The great thing about filling out the FAFSA online is that you can check its processing status immediately. This comes in handy when you're thinking, I wonder if it went through. Within a few days of filling out the FAFSA, you'll get your Student Aid Report, or SAR. You'll hear that abbreviation again, so just remember, your SAR is your Student Aid Report. Basically, it summarizes all of the information you submitted on the FAFSA. You can access your SAR online at fafsa.gov.
Okay. The FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid that all high school seniors who are going to want financial aid can begin completing after October 1st of their senior year. The reason I played this video clip is that after they complete that report, they will get an EFC, the expected family contribution. The best EFC, of course, is 0. I'm not expected to contribute anything. But what happens when you get a 0 EFC, if you enroll into the wrong college, then the way that that college will meet your cost to get to 0 is through student loans. If you have a 0 EFC and you get accepted into the right college, the way that college will meet your cost is through an institutional scholarship or grant. So it's truly 0. However, how do you get into the right college when no one wants to be involved in the planning process? This is where the pitfall is. The conversation has to start early, and then we have to look at what are the types of things that you can do as a high school student to position yourself for the right colleges. So here are the key points on the FAFSA. You're going to receive your EFC. If you apply to a private college, there's a whole other set of financial aid paperwork you're going to have to do, which is the CSS financial aid profile. And then those colleges will compute what they expect you to pay. So this is the background. This is going to happen for everyone. The point is what you do before this day comes. That's why if anyone in here is a high school 9th grader, you have 3 years to put together your plan. If you're a high school senior, your plan, it is what it is. If you're a junior, there are some things that you're going to need to do between now and June so that you position yourself to get into the best colleges. So I will say to everyone, you can hold your questions until the end, write them down, and then I promise to address all of them. So, one thing, tuition-free colleges. So there are tuition-free colleges. Most of us are familiar with the military service academies, but in addition to the military service academies, which will require a tour of duty, there are TC scholarships that you can get at the campus level. Again, those pay for tuition. Then there are tuition-free colleges. But even if you go to a tuition-free college, you still have a huge amount of room, board, fees, and books. Many colleges that you apply to will offer full tuition scholarships if you identify the right college and you have the grades and the test scores or other areas that will qualify you for that. So that's one pathway that you could follow. Everyone in the room, what I suggest that you do tonight when you go home, pull up the list of colleges that you are thinking of attending, and then pull up their net price calculator. Almost every major college or university in the United States has a net price calculator either on their website or on another website that's hosted by the College Board or the U.S. Department of Education. To find it, all that you simply need to do is to put in the college name with the words net price calculator. Now here's why this is important. Because when you calculate the net price based upon your family income, it will give you a sense of what it will cost you to attend different colleges. The reason that number will vary widely is because colleges have different financial aid policies. My point is, if you can understand the policies for a particular college or university now, you can begin to eliminate some from your list. Or if you don't eliminate them, you can at least identify what the financial aid gap is going to be. And it can be huge. So here's what it looks like when you complete a net price calculator. It will tell you tuition, room and board, fees, the estimated cost of attendance. This particular one is $62,000. What you should be concerned with is not the 62. That's where everyone is misdirected. It doesn't matter if it's 62 or 22 or 102. What you should be concerned with are these numbers. What is the school going to give you, and what will be your net price? So $62,000, your net price will be $26,000. $26,000 is still $26,000 a year is a lot of money. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so that's probably not the school that you're going to want to attend, and I'll show you some other ones to compare. But the point is, you need to do that tonight so that you begin to shape your list into the right place. Here are the two fundamental things you need to know. One, if you have a high household income, then your child is probably should not be pursuing a college with need-based financial aid policies, because you don't show need. They should be pursuing a college that has merit-based scholarships. That means that they're an athlete, or they're an artist, or they're a musician, something or brilliant in terms of GPA and test scores, because that college will meet their need. If you have a household income that's under $35,000, could be for some schools even under $100,000, you will qualify for need-based financial aid at a number of colleges and universities. If you are a high-performing, low-income student, you have the holy grail of financial aid, because every college in the United States is available to you. Now here's why the plan has to be in place. If you come from a lower income family like I did, and you are an average student, like many of my friends were, you're not going to get into the college that has the type of financial aid that you need. If you're lower income and you know you need money, you should make school your #1 job. It will pay more than Wendy's or Chick-fil-A or anything. School should be your #1 job, and I'm going to show you why. You have to start setting goals based upon what you're pursuing. And the goals should start in 9th grade. And if you're not in the 9th grade tonight, you should leave tonight and start setting goals, or even start setting goals right here in the room as you listen to what I'm saying, so that you identify the right college. You need to ask yourself, what gifts or talents do I have? Or what gifts or talents can I develop that will result in merit-based scholarships? And again, you can't ask yourself this question in the 12th grade or the 11th grade. You ask yourself the question early. So those of you who are here tonight because you have a high school student, and you also have an elementary school student, your elementary student will benefit from all of your mistakes. And that's what they say. We experiment with the first child. So the first child takes out tens of thousands of dollars in student loans. But then the child that's in elementary school, you say things like, in the 3rd grade, you were fastest at field day. Track and field is going to be your scholarship. Just get with the program. Or they have a play at elementary school, and you say, you're brilliant the way that you played that part. Theater will be your scholarship. Or you may have a child in elementary school who has straight A's. Then what you say is, look, no matter what else, we don't want any distraction. You will be a straight A student from now through 12th grade and have high test scores. Princeton is waiting on you. So again, you have to set goals based upon your gifts. What I want to say to the young people here is that I don't know who you are, but you should know your own gifts. And once you identify your gifts, you need to recognize your gifts may be very different from your friends. You need to separate yourself from your friends and follow your own gifts. I mean, too many guys who want to be athletes, and they're not even good athletes. So they're never going to get a scholarship for their athleticism, but they're brilliant poets, they're brilliant spoken word artists, and they just don't recognize that is my scholarship ticket. This student, this is the same student. I want you to understand how all of this varies by college. So for this student, for Worcester Polytechnic, $59,000 a year, they're willing to award this student enough money that will leave a remaining gap of $29,774. That school should come off the list. The next school, Amherst College, is $65,000 a year, but after they award their Amherst College grant, college education for them will cost $3,600. Now everyone says, yeah, okay, Amherst College, that's it. They only accepted 472 students from throughout the world this year. 3 of those students were our students from our cohort. Swarthmore, $62,650. They'll do you even better. Will cost you $1,920 to attend Swarthmore based upon your financial need. So you see how it varies from $29,000 $29,000 for the first college to $1,900 to the third college for the same student. So that's based upon the same household income. That's why you have to do the net price calculator early in the process so you begin to move schools around on your list in terms of where you're focusing. So the key points here, in-state and out-of-state, those are irrelevant terms. We oftentimes say, oh, I'm going to an in-state school because it's less. Out-of-state school costs so much more. That's irrelevant. It's based upon what that school wants. So for example, going to school at North Carolina State would normally be less expensive than going to school at Ohio State. That's reasonable, right? Right? Yeah. Okay, except if you're a tailback. If you're a tailback, you get to go to Ohio State free. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the fact, in-state, out-of-state, it's irrelevant. If you are a top-performing student, University of Richmond is a very expensive school. One of our students this year is a Richmond Scholar. That's a full scholarship. So that means that makes that school less than UNC Chapel Hill or Davidson. So again, this only comes if you engage in research. You have to engage in research and research. You have to look at your colleges within the context of your family's financial needs. Now, those of you who are higher income households, I really want to caution you from just blindly paying your money. If you're like my wife and I, you have worked hard for this money. So don't go blindly throwing it out there just because your child says, this is my hope to die college. There are no hope to die colleges. You know, there are plenty of places to get a great education. So we have to engage in this conversation. There's a website, College Data. That's a website that's good to research your colleges and universities because you can complete a net price calculator on their website. So for example, again, what I'm trying to paint the picture of is how colleges vary. So UNC Greensboro, here it says they meet 80% of the financial need of students who show need. So again, many students will say, I'm going to UNC Greensboro because it's going to be less expensive. But again, if I use another example, Amherst College meets 100% of need. But again, if you want to get into here's the rule of thumb. The more selective the college, the more money they have. Repeat after me. The more selective the college, the more money they have. So if you can get accepted into the Ivy League, if you can get accepted into any of the mini Ivies, which are the liberal arts schools, if you can get accepted into Stanford or UC Berkeley, those schools have plenty of money, and those schools have financial aid that will meet family need, oftentimes up to household incomes of $250,000. So again, it's really important to engage in the research. The key thing when you do the net price calculator, what you're looking for is how much of the need is the college meeting with student loans versus how much of the need is the college meeting with institutional grants and scholarships. This takes a lot of research. And I want to say this to all the students. For those of you who are in here now, if you are a high-performing student, whether you come from a higher income family or a lower income family, your full scholarship money may not be in the state of North Carolina. But 8 out of 10 students will attend college in their home state. The reason 8 out of 10 students will attend college in their home state is because it's easy. Because you don't have to do any research. In North Carolina, you have the free college application week, so all the seniors apply to North Carolina colleges and universities. But if you really are concerned with the money, you're concerned with the money, then you have to expand your geographic circle. Research scholarships programs within the context of your achievements and demographics. Your racial group, your gender, your household income. If you want a spelling bee, or if you're good academically, if you're good athletically, if you're into music. So what you want to do is you have to look at yourself and be honest. Those of you who are Girl Scouts, if you received the Girl Scout Gold Award, if you're a Boy Scout and you received the Eagle Scout Award, you have to look at yourself within the context of who you are. And as you begin to research scholarships, and here's the point, the reason that scholarship, I know when you use the word scholarship, everyone wants to come out and hear about that. There's always stories about scholarships that just falling from the sky. That's just not true. It takes hundreds of hours to research scholarships, but then even after you've researched them, it takes as much time to package yourself in a high quality manner. The STEM Scholars, here's an example. The STEM Scholars is a full scholarship program. It's offered by a number of colleges and universities. This is just the top of their website. There are many other colleges and universities. When you look at this, Barry University, Caltech, Georgia Tech, LSU, Mercer, Oberlin, Purdue, Morehouse, Miami University, William & Mary, Dartmouth. It's a full scholarship program. But it's so highly competitive. So if you're here and you were considering applying to a scholarship program like this, you shouldn't waste your time unless you're competitive. What does it take to compete for these types of programs? We have worked with students who had straight A's throughout high school, took all the AP classes offered in the high school, had AP exam scores of 4 or higher in every AP exam, were leaders in organizations, were actively involved in their community, and they still didn't receive the scholarship. And the reason is that there are 1.5 million students who are applying to college every year, and many of them graduated #1 in their class. I mean, keep this in mind. There are 25,000 public high schools. Each one has a valedictorian and a salutatorian. That's 50,000 near-perfect students trying to get these same scholarships. So why you have to look at your demographics, and if your demographics is not competitive, you need to identify the scholarships that you are competitive for. For example, the Richmond Scholars Program at the University of Richmond. Highly competitive. They require an interview even after they consider you for the scholarship. The Trinity Scholars Program at Duke. Highly competitive. You all are in the zone, the geographic area where you could qualify for the scholarship. But understand, first you have to be accepted into Duke. That's difficult enough. Once you get accepted, you're now competing with all of those students who got accepted. Who got accepted? The most competitive students in the country. So I'm reading some of the faces, and I'm looking at some of the young people, and you look like you're depressed because you recognize you have not maximized your high school opportunity. It's okay to be depressed. Once you leave here, get it in gear. Identify where you are competitive and narrow your search to where you are competitive. Don't sit down and go to the counselor and get all of these scholarship applications that you're going to apply for that you are not competitive, because they take, understand what it takes for a high quality scholarship application. You have to complete it. Your parents should review it. Your counselor has to send off a transcript. Someone probably has to write a recommendation. Someone may even have to make a nomination. All of those people are involved. That's a waste of time if you're not applying for the right scholarships. Washington and Lee, the Johnson Scholarship. Again, full scholarship opportunity. So here are the key points. If you are going to be applying for merit-based scholarships, you must have a high-quality resume. You must identify the teachers or counselor who will write you a high-quality recommendation. If you are involved in a community organization, you need to identify one of the people you know who will write you a high-quality recommendation. And I don't know how to stress this more. You must be able to submit a high-quality essay. Few students can write a high-quality essay. That means that you must recognize you need a team. You need a language arts teacher. You need someone who will be critical. And many of you, the students who are here, you don't want your parents to be critical of you. You better get over it. Because you need to be criticized in your house before you put your application in a room with 1,000 other applications. So if it can't pass your mama's scrutiny, it is not going to pass other people's mama's scrutiny who are in that room. So you must be open to criticism. And it takes a long time to write these type of essays to be competitive. Here's an example. We have been on the phone all week with college admissions officers because we have students all over the country who are beginning to receive their decisions. So we were on the phone with one of the admissions officers at one of the selective schools in the country the other day. And she said to my wife and I, your 3 applicants, 2 are going to be pleased because we have admitted them. And here's what she said. When we read this applicant's application, we were just jumping up and down because her essay spoke to who she was, it spoke to her passions, and we just couldn't wait to get her on campus. And then there was another applicant of ours. They said when we read his application, we just knew that he was a perfect fit for our university. And then there was a 3rd applicant. The 3rd applicant was as qualified on the ACT as the first 2. She had a 33 on the ACT. She was nearly as qualified with her grades in course taking. On her AP exams throughout high school, she had 4s. On the other 2 applicants, they had all 5s. She had 1 grade in high school that was a C. And what the admissions officer said is that we liked her, but we couldn't get past her low grade. I'm saying to myself, my God, 1 grade, 1 C throughout 4 years of high school? And then they said that, but here's where I think it really was. The first 2 students, my wife and I reviewed their essays. The 3rd student was running behind, and we never saw her essays. She simply submitted them. So I want you to understand how important it is to have your essays reviewed before you put them out there for these college admissions or these scholarships. Now, everyone in the room, all the parents who have a senior, but you have an elementary and a middle school student, again, we're going to pray for your senior, but for your elementary and your middle school student, you can start collecting your scholarship money now. Because the Jack Kent Cooks Foundation, they award scholarships to 7th graders. There are all sorts of organizations throughout the country that award scholarships to elementary and middle school students for performing arts, for music, creative writing, poetry. And so you really need to get started and start tallying up that scholarship money. But the other one that's really important, particularly if you have a student who's not a senior, they could be a junior. If they're a junior, you need to research your scholarships now so that you know exactly the scholarships you're going to apply to for your senior year. So you get ahead of the deadline. You can identify a scholarship a year in advance, and then you can begin positioning yourself to apply so your application is highly competitive for that application. And again, elementary school students, they vary from easy to competitive. So here's what I want everyone to understand. If you're a student in the room, and you're sitting there feeling badly about yourself, and you're saying, Mr. Wynn, I just have average grades, I haven't engaged in any leadership, I know my parents suggested I do all that, but I was too busy socializing, I guess I shouldn't even come tonight. No, you just have to recognize your demographic. I go back to what I said. If your demographic is you're an average student, you haven't done very much, you're kind of lazy, you don't take school seriously, you have an attitude with your parents on more than one occasion, there's still a scholarship for you. What you have to do is research scholarships that are competitions. Scholarships that are based upon just an essay, not your whole body of work. Or scholarships that are just based upon submissions. Now again, the odds are lower that you get those, but at least you're focused. You're not wasting your time applying for scholarships that you're not competitive for. So that's my point. My point is identify the types of scholarships that fit you and fit your profile. Now, here's the illustration that I want you to keep in mind. When you apply for a scholarship, keeping the image in your mind, I want to be different. I want my scholarship application to rise to the top. Now, how does that happen? If you're an average student, you can write a brilliant essay that will make your scholarship rise to the top. Here's an opening for you. This is for you. So if you didn't want to come tonight and you were angry with your parents that they made you come tonight, here it is for you. Your essay should begin, I've always been an average student. I haven't gotten along with my parents all the time. But this year I had an epiphany. I've changed my attitude toward life and toward my parents. I even love my younger sister. And I am planning to do something great in life. And then just telling your story. That will get you a scholarship, just telling your story. What I'm saying to you is that your story has not ended. Your story is being written every single day of your life. So again, here's how you research, and you have these in your notes. Your gift plus the word scholarship, like art scholarships, debate scholarships, music scholarships, the college name is scholarships. If you have identified schools like Duke or Davidson or UNC Chapel Hill scholarships, Duke scholarships. So you began to develop your scholarship talent. And again, look at your background. You know, scholarships for first generation students, scholarships for military dependents, scholarships for immigrants, scholarships for students from Sri Lanka. I mean, whatever it is, what I'm saying is you use your background and the word scholarship to begin. And also, you know, if you want, one of the best books on the market is this book called Show Me the Money, Scholarships, Financial Aid, Making the Right College Choice by this guy, Michael Wynn. One of the best resources that you can ever use. But seriously, you need to decide also, how do you prefer to do your research? Do you prefer to do internet research, or do you prefer print? So if you prefer print, then go to a bookstore and purchase scholarship books. If you're going to do internet, this is the main thing about the internet. Use different search engines, because you can use one term in Google and you'll get a whole different set of results if you use Yahoo, or if you use Bing, or if you use AOL. So just consider different search engines. Also, if you came in tonight because you actually need money, then when you go home tonight, register for all of the different scholarship search engines. And here's how you do it. Go home and search on the phrase, best scholarship search engines. And you're going to get a list. Go to each of the websites and put in your profile and just wait to be matched to scholarships. And you're going to be matched hundreds of scholarships, and just get into the habit of identifying which one is going to be good to apply for. Let me say this to parents. This is not something you just assign to your child. Scholarship research, you have to understand, this is a pot of gold. So the pot of gold reduces student loan debt for you and your child. So it's not something that you can say, you go and you find scholarships. You have to do it together as a family and just assume different roles. Again, identify the scholarship support that you need and the websites that you're going to go to. I would imagine all of you are familiar with the College Foundation North Carolina website. They have many scholarships that are listed there. Again, what you're going to do is just going to do your tally, and you're going to begin creating a scholarship table. And again, here's some of the best scholarship platforms in 2018. They change every year. So here you see FastWeb is at the top, and it goes down, CapEx, Unigo. Sallie Mae, I'm actually going to be at Sallie Mae tomorrow morning. Big Future, Good Call, College Data. And again, these are easy to identify, but the point is, go ahead and set up an account and get the search engines working for you so that you begin identifying your scholarships. And you got to understand student loans. Most students are going to take out student loans, as many as 6 and 10. So if you're going to assume a student loan, particularly if you're a high school senior, you haven't researched your scholarships, you've already decided you're going to college where you're going to have a financial aid gap that you're going to finance with loans. You need to fully understand the type of loan that you have and whether or not that loan can even be forgiven. So that when you come out of school, if you go into public service or you work for a foundation or you work for the U.S. government, that some of those loans can be forgiven. But again, it requires a great deal of research. And here's an example of not knowing.
And thousands of people who chose to work in public service after college may now face an extra 10 years of student loan payments. That's according to a class action lawsuit filed right here in Florida. And as Jackie Calloway discovered, many of them don't even know it.
Former FSU teacher and National Weather Service meteorologist Bill Cottrell says he asked the right questions.
I didn't receive any information that I had the wrong loan type.
Bill was 6 years into his student loan payments when he called Navient, then Sallie Mae, about the loan forgiveness program.
Keep making my payments and then apply for the program as I near my 10th year of service, and all will be well with the world.
According to this class action suit filed in federal court, Bill made 120 payments, about $130,000 worth, on time. moves that should have freed him from the remainder of his balance.
I was told, well, I had the wrong loan, so I was denied.
Tampa student loan attorney Christy Arkovich followed suit. She accuses Navient of misleading Bill and others about the qualifications for debt forgiveness.
They have not correctly represented what a borrower needs to do to qualify for public service loan forgiveness.
For Bill, it means delaying retirement another decade. I asked Navient to respond to the allegations in the suit, but they refused to comment on pending litigation.
So you're telling me I'm going to have to reconsolidate my loans and pay on them for another 10 years until I'm 70?
Specifically, the case alleges that Navient failed to advise Bill and thousands of others to convert their loan into what's known as a direct loan in order to qualify.
So we have clients who are out there for years thinking that their loans are eligible, the type of work they're doing is eligible, and they're really not.
When I called and asked about the program, they should have told me all the particulars.
The forgiveness program just turned 10 years old. Plaintiffs' attorneys say it's possible that in the coming months, thousands of borrowers could find out they've been enrolled in the wrong loan all along. I'm Jackie.
So here's the point. If you're going to take out student loans, you have to know the type of loan. But if you really listen to that clip, the advice is, don't take out a student loan. Because even when you think you know, you may not know. And when you take out some student loans that are subsidized, the government is paying for the interest until you get out of college. But the majority of student loans will be unsubsidized, which means they will begin accruing interest the day that you sign and they're funded to the college. There are many parents who are over 60 and they're still paying back student loans. The reason that we're in this situation is that young people are focused on getting in, not getting college paid for. So imagine if we could change the dialogue. Let's look at the schools you want to go to. Let's look at what it will cost. And let's supplement that list with some other schools where it would cost less. Let's identify the types of scholarships you qualify for. As a family, let's put together high-quality scholarship applications. There's one essay that every student in the room must write. It is an autobiographical essay. If you write an autobiographical essay, you will refer to it over and over. Because many scholarships will ask you questions like, what was the most significant obstacle you faced in your life? What has been the most gratifying experience you've had in your life? What are your dreams and aspirations for the future? How would you like to impact your community? If you really write a thoughtful autobiographical essay, an essay could be 3,000 or 4,000 words. I'm saying go back to conception or preconception. So your autobiographical essay begins with who? Your parents. My mom and my dad met in Hawaii. I was conceived during the visit to Hawaii. I was born in Greensboro, where I've grown up my entire life, and you just write this story. If you're an immigrant, what you have to understand, you need to take your story back to where you started and write it all the way forward so that you can give a scholarship provider or a college a real glimpse into who you are. You need to identify the groups of colleges that have the financial aid policies that would best benefit you. I can't stress this enough. Let me say this to parents so that we're clear. You can apply for hundreds of scholarships and never amass $260,000 in money. But if you get accepted to the right college, you can be awarded that in an institutional scholarship. We have students this year who were accepted to Amherst. They awarded those students over $260,000. We have students who were accepted to Williams College, students accepted to Princeton and Duke, and they have been awarded full scholarships. Now, I was just in Boston 2 weeks ago for two of my students who had nominated for the Northeastern University Torch Scholars Program. That program is only available to first-generation students who could not be accepted in the general pool. That means the average or the median ACT score to be accepted into Northeastern is 32. There's 2 students I nominated, one had a 19 and one had a 22. So Northeastern is saying, look, we're looking for students who couldn't normally get in, but they showed grit in their life. They look like students who, if we support them as first generation, they will make it. The Northeastern Toy Scholars Program is not only everything, it is more than everything. They don't want financing to be a burden. Now, why is all this stuff important? Because many students are going to leave college because they're going to run out of money. There are news articles of students who are in college now, they can't afford to buy food. There are students who are living day to day in college. I'm one of them. When I was at Northeastern, my buddies and I, we had a little game we could play. Who could go the longest on $1? Now, my sons, they could never survive a day in that game. But for me, I won the game. I could go 3 months on $1. Now, you would ask, how could anyone go 3 months on $1? I would hitch a ride from Cambridge, Massachusetts, across the bridge to Northeastern. I worked on campus, so I got free food on campus. I had friends who had money, and I would eat in their apartments. And so I had to decide what I needed to do to survive. So these are really important. So the question I'm always asking is, well, what has become clearer? I really want to know if anyone understands that your list has to grow. So if you would ask, well, Mr. Wynn, what types of schools should be on my list? You must start with who you are. Your GPA, your test scores. Start there. Then identify the colleges that you can get into. So for the parents who have been to the other sessions, if your child has a good GPA and their test scores stink, what schools should be on their list? Thank you very much. Test optional schools. But if you're going to apply to a test optional school and they're not looking at your test scores, what other types of things are they going to be looking at? Resume. Interview. Essay. I'm sorry. Your talent. Absolutely. They're going to be looking for leadership as well. Community service. So let me just see a show of hands of the students. How many of you all need, as a matter of fact, let's do it this way. And this is the last session, so, I got time. Let's do it this way before we do the questions. All the students who need money for college, stand up. Okay, so let's see, we're going to play a little game. I need you to be honest. So everyone is standing up. If you are not currently a president of something, have a seat. Okay, so I have 2 students standing up. Okay, everyone stand back up. Okay, if you do not attend a faith-based institution, a mosque or a church or something, sit down. Okay, so parents, look at how many students we have who are going with you somewhere to a faith-based institution. Okay, everyone sit down. So, I'm going to give you an inside trick. Not trick. I'm sorry, I used the wrong word. Tip. Inside tip. My wife and I are the education ministry leaders at Turner Chapel AME in Marietta, Georgia. Here's what we said at our last meeting. We have a group of Girl Scouts, all 11th graders who are part of our college planning cohort in Georgia. And once a month, we have a meeting on the second Sunday of the month after church where we're having these college planning conversations. And so what I said to them was, we have a college planning cohort youth leadership board. If you volunteer to set up the room every Sunday, break down the room when we're done, and set up the refreshments, you're automatically a co-president of the college planning cohort youth leadership board. How many students do you think volunteered? The students who were not Girl Scouts heard me talking to the Girl Scouts and Mr. Wynn, why is this just for the Girl Scouts? I want to be on it. Now, all of those students then got together and started talking about what they could do. Here's what you must do, young people. If you're not currently president of an organization, start your own club. If you cut lawns, start your own lawn care service, and you are the president and CEO. If you're involved in a ministry at your church or synagogue or mosque, go to the ministry leader and say, I need to be an officer. And the ministry leader says, well, we don't have officers. Then this year, just for the first time, we'll have officers. What I need you to recognize is when you put together your resume, the people who are reviewing your resume are looking for leadership in front of each line item. So if you're on a team, they're looking to see, are you the captain or the co-captain? If you're in an organization, are you an officer? Were you the founder of something? Did you create something? What I'm saying to you is that you could create a resume that is full of holes, and you could turn it into a high quality resume if you simply get creative. Now, I'm not suggesting to any of you that you lie. What I'm saying to you is that if you recognize that you're weak currently, that you go home and you set goals, say, look, I know that Dad, I've been helping you on the weekends. Why don't you and I just start this little car remodeling business? And I'll go over to Uncle's house and I help him with his car, and then I'll just name myself President, CEO, with my name, and we'll start doing that together. Or you go to your team and you talk to your coach and say, Coach, I know I can't be the captain because there's already a captain, but Coach, do we only have to have one co-captain? Can we have like 9 co-captains? I mean, everyone who really wants to help to be a co-captain. What I'm saying to you, if you are a coach or a counselor or you're a program, you need to recognize how competitive this landscape is. And you need to provide opportunities for your young people to demonstrate leadership. Once young people understand the connection between leadership and scholarship money, they begin to step up. So for example, the young people who are here, just let me see a show of hands. If I was going to invite you to be on the Guilford County Parent Academy Youth Leadership Board, raise your hand if you would volunteer to do that. Okay? So what we should have done is at the first meeting, we should have set up a youth leadership board and said the only thing you need to do to qualify is come to all 3 sessions. And then you would have, so the parents would say, well, I don't know how to get my child out. We just figured it out. So we're going to have to set up these sessions again for next year so that I come back and we start from the very beginning. What I'm saying to you is that, how many 9th graders are in the room? For those of you who are 9th graders, if you go home and you do this now, tonight, and you identify leadership roles, that means you have the opportunity to have leadership position for 4 years. How many 10th graders? Okay, those of you, same thing with you. Now you have 3 years. How many 11th graders? Okay, the 11th graders, this is a sense of urgency. You need to be strategizing. If you want, you can email me and I'll give you some ideas. You need to be strategizing right now because you need your resume to be high quality by June. For those of you who are 11th graders, you need to, let me say this to parents. I want to make sure the parents who were not here for the other 2 sessions understand this dynamic. The most direct pathway to the big money, GPA and test scores. So if you're going to make an investment and your child is a 10th or 11th grader, I understand your child may be pushing you to send them to a camp in Spain. $3,500, $4,500. I would take that money and invest it in SAT or ACT prep. Because if your child can get a test score above 27 on the ACT, in the 700s on the SAT, there are 4 scholarships, as long as they have a GPA 3.0 or higher, that are available. One of our students this year, her safety school became Tuskegee University because she was offered a full scholarship back in the summer. So every other offer that's come in since then, at Williams and Amherst and the other schools that she's applied to, those are just on top. That's the gravy, or that's the icing. So what I'm saying is that identify it now. Now, those of you who are athletes, here's a caveat for you, because I want to be misunderstood by the comment I made earlier, is that if you're an athlete, and you're not a very good athlete, but you're an athlete, and you're actually on the team, you're on the varsity team, if you can concentrate on grades and test scores, you may be able to get a slot in an Ivy League school ahead of other top students in your school. And you would ask, Mr. Wynn, how is that possible? And I know the top students are saying to themselves, don't tell them how it's possible. The way it's possible is that, and I see it every year, Harvard and Yale and Princeton, they have to have a B team. they have to have students who play against the varsity team. So these are students who probably would never play in a game and are not starters. And those students who they need for the B team are not necessarily at the top of the pool academically. But they have athleticism because that's what they need. Now, for the parents who are now saying, Mr. Wynn, that's terrible. Look, colleges are communities. And in a college community, they need athletes, they need artists, they need musicians, they need students who are going to be involved in programs. They need, let me say this. If there's anyone in the room, here is the important tip for you. If you're in the room and you come from a middle class to upper middle class family, and you want the big scholarship money or selective college admission, you need to commit to community service. Oftentimes, students from affluent households, they go feed the homeless once a year. They volunteer for a mission trip once a year. Colleges are not duped. But if you are a high-performing student, you come from an affluent family, you find a low-performing school in Guilford County, you commit to teaching reading or math or science all year, and then in your college essay, you write about that experience and how you transform a life. And if you can share a story, you will find out that that will just open the floodgates. And I'm telling you, every year when a student is able to say, here's an example, one of our students this year, Lauren. Lauren has been offered admission at every school he's applied to. And one of the admissions officers brought him up yesterday, or the other day when we spoke with her. She said, we were reading his application and he is just the perfect student for us. Why? Well, what Lauren at his church does is that there's a special needs ministry at his church. And in his college essay, he wrote about an encounter with a single student in special needs. He wrote about how they built a relationship over several years. He wrote about how it transformed his own sense of humanity and compassion. He wrote about how he didn't recognize how blessed he was and how that blessing required that he give it to. You understand? When they were reading that essay, they go, oh my God, we gotta have him. So what I'm saying to you is your essay must speak for you. And if your essay doesn't speak, it's weak. And if it's weak, you need to kill it, a slow death. And you need to go find someone who will help you spring some life into it. Are you with me? You understand this? How many high school seniors, how many juniors again in the room? You need to start your essay tonight because you need several months to make it great. The fatal mistake that most juniors make is they wait until their senior year to begin writing their essay. Then they're rushing. And then when you rush, it can't be great. Your essay is literally worth tens of thousands of dollars. And I want to make this final point to parents, and then I will entertain any questions. You are the first line of defense. You must carefully read and scrutinize every application your child submits. Young people think they're all grown up, and they rush out and they apply and they apply and they apply. That's fatal. You have to be the person to say, just hold on. Don't hit send until I see it. And I'm telling you as someone that has been in this business a long time. Generally, when my wife and I review an application, we say, my God, they were about to hit send. Right now, we have 4 students who we have nominated or recommended for internships at their current college students at Ingalls Shipbuilding in Mississippi. And they're from different parts of the country, but that's a summer internship. What my wife and I said to all 4 students, put your application together and then give me your login and your password so I can go and review it. And then she went in and reviewed everyone. By the time the applications were submitted, they were high quality. And we've already been contacted by people at the company saying, these are some of the best applicants that we've ever received. What I really need you to understand is that this is a team sport, and parents have to be hands-on. what I want the young people to understand is you got to set the right goal. The goal should not be to apply. The goal should be to get it. So you got to understand that concept. It's not how many colleges you apply to. It's about you getting into the right colleges. And that means that you have to be top quality. So